Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
All right, welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast. I am joined by Mr. Jeff Danker of Buck Ventures. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm better than I deserve, that's for sure. It is the middle of the rut, and no pandemic can stop the rut from happening, so still a good year.
Yes, sir. It's, I like to have a few bucks killed by now, but this rut is, something that can be fun, and it's something that can be tiring for sure.
Absolutely. I 100% understand that. Before we dive in and just talk the rut, fun rut stories, memories from the past and plans for the future, give us a quick introduction to yourself, man. Not that you need much of one, but give us a quick introduction to yourself.
Well, I am Jeff Danker, and heck, I've been doing Buck Ventures since 2003. Been on the Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel for a long time now, and really, my deal. I think God just has put me in this position to use this platform to share the gospel and to encourage others, and that's what we're doing. I mean, I'm 48 years old now, and I love hunting big deer. Is a big passion of mine, but it's just what God's given me for this platform to share what He's all about.
Absolutely, man. And I know I've told you this plenty of times, but you were one of the people I grew up watching on TV, and what you just said is one of the very reasons that I've always enjoyed watching you, is because you not only say you're a Christian, but you live it out on and off screen. And so I appreciate that about you, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so thanks for just living true to yourself and not trying to be anything else. And I really enjoy that about you.
Well, and that's the truth is, I am a sinner saved by grace. But one thing I remember learning in this industry is to be yourself. And it's rough because, I was a people pleaser. I wanted everybody to like me. And all of a sudden I started realizing some people didn't like me. But I just learned that it's okay. You still got to just be who you are, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, people won't like you, and you're not going to make everybody happy, but at least they'll have to respect that you didn't compromise.
Absolutely. Well, man, before we jump in and talk about the rut, let me give a quick thank you to our friends over at Nexus Outdoors. They make some of the finest clothing in scent lock, but also their line of products in the Oz, their ozone products is fantastic. I hunted, man. I don't know about you, but here in Kansas, we had a bad cold front come in with a lot of snow and just wet and nasty weather. And I went out and it was 18 degrees and snowing, and I was in their Fortress bibs and jacket, and I was afraid. It was the first time I ever went out in their clothing, and I was like, man, it's going to be bitterly cold. And I actually left my jacket unzipped the entire hunt. And stayed perfectly warm. So phenomenal gear. Go check out Scent Lock and Oz by Scent Lock. Now, I've got a question for you, Jeff.
Okay.
What has been the story? You portrayed to me that this rut has been tiring and taking a toll on you, man. How's it gone thus far?
Well, in all honesty, I think we're a little bit away from the rut, but I mean, just kind of the way I say that is because you know the rut is so unpredictable. The rut is a fun time, especially if you don't have that big buck, because you can always get your neighbor's big buck. But like this year, we have a giant, and I actually missed him on October 2nd at 36 yards in low light, and we've been trying to catch up with him ever since. And he's patternable then, and now he's not. And that is where, again, I love the rut as much as anybody, but I know it's so unpredictable when you're hunting that one deer.
Yeah, some people, man, some people who manage their properties and manage their properties well, you hear them not like the rut because, like you said, those are times where their big bucks stroll onto their neighbor's property, and they can't hunt that buck no more. So you hear people, who really take time and manage their properties and grow and know these deer. The rut can be a fantastic time to harvest a big deer, but that also means it can be a good time for your neighbor to harvest your big deer. So.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, to me, if you're going to shoot big bucks every year, you're going to do it outside of the rut. I mean, that, like I said, you can control it a little more. And again, it is the one thing the rut brings is uncertainty and not knowing. It's like a roll of the dice every night. When you get up or you leave your property and it's not happening, you just never know what's going to be there the next morning because deer are, they're traveling and this and that. And, where I'm at right now, we're in, northwest Oklahoma, southwest Kansas. And, we're a little ways away. We're in northwest Oklahoma tonight. We're fixing to head over in the morning to the Kansas property. And we haven't been there in a couple of weeks and just see, what's shaking there. And that's what's so cool. That's what's so exciting. We don't know what'll be on those scrapes, on those cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, you say that, man. I love hunting properties that you have no idea what's there. I love hunting properties. I've got one piece, and I try not to ever put a trail camera on it, just so I can have that pure joy of seeing a buck and not knowing it was there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so we're recording this on October 29th. On the 27th, the evening that bad snowstorm hit, I had one of the best sits in a deer blind I've had in probably 5 years, man.
Mm,
I climbed in my blind, and within 20 seconds of zipping up the back of the blind, I pulled down my windows, and there was about a 125 standing at probably 20 yards, and just standing there eating. I don't know. I don't know how I didn't spook him getting in. Because you're getting your bow in, you're getting
mm-hmm.
your backpack in, you're unzipping your blind, you're pulling down the windows. I don't know. I think what happened was my noise. I think he was bedded because I didn't see him when I was walking in. I think what happens, he was bedded, and my noise woke him up. But then I didn't make any noise afterwards to spook him. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
because he stood there and was just feeding for probably 10 minutes. So the first 10 minutes of my sit, I had a decent little buck out front to watch,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I probably saw. I saw 9 bucks that were all in that 125, 130 mark. So none of my shooters, but just a phenomenal hunt, man. One of those hunts that you
Mm-hmm.
and it's snowing. We already had 2 inches on the ground, and it was snowing. It was freezing cold, and the deer were just moving everywhere. So when you get up here, it, I think it's supposed to warm up tomorrow, which kind of stinks, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll still be a good hunt. I believe that, and I heard you
Did
say
you
this.
have any rut activity?
No, actually, every buck I saw was with another buck, which
Uh,
which is still shouldn't have been the case. And I don't know, they weren't really with each other, but they were kind of running together.
tolerating.
Yeah, tolerating each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I would always say, and I've heard you say this before. I start seeing the rut activity a little bit on Halloween, at least where I'm at.
Mm.
A little bit where I'm at, and then that November 4th mark, you can almost count on it being full fledged. But I want you to tell me, man, one of your best rut stories you've got. Like just something crazy happened in the woods when the rut was going on.
Oh man, I got a few. I mean, one of the best rut days I ever had, and one of the worst is October 28th in 2007. I crawled up into a hackberry set that I had there on the Republican River in Kansas, and literally, I filmed a 200 class deer, probably 320-pound deer with
God.
frost all over his back, just coming by himself. Is that perfect? What I always tell people, that you still can control that this time of year where if you just see a big and you can call him in. And anyway, I grunted to him, and he kind of stopped and looked, flickered his tail, went on a little bit. I grinded the rattle bag, and I kind of got him a little more curious, and then he went on a little bit, and then I snort wheezed to him, and literally just turned him inside out, and he just turns and comes running at me. And I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you got a 200-inch deer coming at you on a run. And I'll never forget trying to clip on to my D-loop, and I was shaking so dang bad I couldn't hardly get, clipped on. And anyway, long story short, he comes around, he makes a rub at 51 yards, and he's coming, and he gets to 24 yards, and he stops, and there's a locust tree in the way that literally when I hung the set like 4 or 5 days before, I'd sawed that locust tree halfway in two, but I felt like I was making too much noise, so I thought, well, I'm just going to leave it. And at 24 yards, I can't get an arrow in him just because he's right in that path. And
Oh,
anyway, he backs out, and I lose him, and literally hunted him all the way to December 31st. Had a couple more encounters with him, but never got him killed. And I ended up calling him Heartbreak because I just when I did my little deal there, I just said, man, that deer just broke my heart. But anyway, that's one. And then you talk about some crazy stuff. I mean, and I don't know if a lot of people have seen it. I mean, you get that one hot doe, uh, and you get 5 or 6, 7 bucks after. And most time when I see it, it's the second rut. It's the 28-day cycle. So it'll be into November, 1st of December. And I seen that in Iowa, and there was 7 bucks after a doe. They had her leg broke. I mean, that's the one thing people, even my wife, these deer are so brutal. I mean,
oh
when it
yeah.
comes down to it, and I mean, they were after her, and it was just, and they were running by me. I ain't joking. There were couple 160s, and they're 10 yards, and they're just back and forth all around me, and I'm going meh, 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 and hollering, and I drew probably 15 times, and they're just running around my tree, and I never got a shot. Never got a shot.
You could see some crazy stuff happen in the rut, but that one there is one that I've not heard it quite detailed like that yet.
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is, it was really sad. I mean,
Yeah,
the doe, and like I said, I don't know if anybody wants to hear that, but I mean, it's the truth. I was just like, golly, how brutal are they?
yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Um, did anybody ever harvest that deer you called Heartbreak?
No, not that I know of. I actually went back. I was on a piece of property back then around Clifton, Kansas, and on the Republican River, and it butted up against some public, and that's actually where that deer came from, off a public piece. But I got on him the next year, and he was probably about a 165, and I mean, he had went down big time. Definitely same deer, but again, just didn't catch up with him. I would have shot him again that year, but
So how
end
old do you
up
think he
shooting a
was?
pretty good buck. I think the deer, I don't know for sure. It's not one of them deals that I kept up with him, from a year and a half, but I guessed him the year that I had him at 200 inches was 6 years old, and that's the next year at 7 is kind of what I had him at.
So is that when you think, and this is off topic of the rut, but is that when you think deer start their descend? Is that 6, 7, 8 year mark?
I would say no. Here's my theory on it. I truly believe deer are different in every aspect. You can't just label them just like you could a person. I mean, I believe some deer, I've seen deer that just take a jump. They're 155 at 3 years old, and I've killed them the next year at 187, and I've had that a couple
God.
times. And then they took a 30 inch drop, or go up 30 inches in 1 year from 3 to 4. And then I've seen many times 3 to 4, they don't do nothing. And then they'll take a big jump into the fives. And I've seen them get bigger and bigger to 6 or 7. And then, like I said, I've seen deer. So I think it's genetics. I think it's diet. I think it's all of it. The way they take care of herself. I truly believe deer have such a personality. some are fighters, some aren't, some worry, some don't, some, I truly believe they take on that form. And so it's different with every deer. I mean, stress is one of the biggest things. So if you get a deer that actually say lives on a property, that's being managed and not pressured, well, that deer can continue to not have stress and to grow and to, whatever. Where you take one that's had a hard life, and he may be going down at 6. So that's my theory on that.
Now, if you were to say, so this episode will go out on November 4th. So
Hmm.
literally right, I mean, we're kicking off the rut. If I was to take a vacation, it would be starting on the 4th or the 5th to hunt. And I think I heard you say one time, and I think it was you. If not, you can correct me. I think you said the best day to be in the tree stand is November 7th. Was that you?
Well, that is me, and that's my favorite day. And I might have changed it a little since then. I do like the 7th, 8th, and 9th is what I always said, and it's going to depend. It's going to depend on where you're at. In Kansas and in Illinois, they can be a little different. I mean, Oklahoma, you're not going to get that good rut till a little bit later than that. It's going to be more like November
Right.
15th to 20th. But you're right. I mean, across the Midwest, the 7th, 8th, and 9th. But I would even extend that now. If I was telling somebody to take a vacation, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, those days, you're getting that right before that lockdown. And, you got to be careful. The one thing that I truly believe, people think, oh, the rut didn't happen this year. The rut was late. The rut was early. And the truth of the matter is, if you just look at the fawns are pretty much born the same time every year. So the rut is you take them cool fronts like we just had, and that cool front will trump so much. I mean, people talk about the moon, they talk about this, but that cold weather makes things happen. So in other words, if you got the rut, the dates lining up with good weather, then you got the coffee shop all talking about how good the rut was. But if you take that same rut and the same dates and mix it with hot weather, no one, the rut ain't happened in the coffee shop. But it
Right.
truly is always happening. They're going to breed pretty close to the same time every year. God's just made it that way.
Now, before I ask you my question, I had a kid. My middle child was born on November 7th, and I'm the same with you, man. I've always said November, that 7th through the 10th is really when I want to be hunting.
Uh-huh.
So that year I did not get to hunt the 7th through the 10th. I can promise you that. Um,
Hmm.
it was horrible, man. I was sitting in the hospital, and I think like 8 of my friends sent me pictures of just monster bucks while I'm sitting in the hospital. So I was definitely like thinking, man, when can we get out of here? Every time the nurse would come in, I'd say, so can we leave yet? And the nurse would say, no, you got to stay a bit longer. But it was rough, man. So I tell you that to ask you this. So it's November 4th. What what do we need to focus on? What do we need to look for? What do we need to do? And let's look at both situations. So if it is that warmer weather, and the
Hmm.
rut's not going to be as good, what are some things to remember as we head into this next week as we hunt? But then if it is a cold snap and the weather lines up and everything is perfect, what are some tips you would have for the next upcoming week?
Well, the one thing is make sure you got your bag packed with, you got to have something to rattle with, a grunt tube, a snort wheeze, and then just know that to spend as much time in the woods as you can. I mean, so in other words, what I like on November 4th is you get somewhere where, you know, in mornings, if I'm going to double dip on trees, so mornings I'm going to hunt close to doe bedding areas, and that's where you want to be. And the one thing I would tell everyone, don't be scared, at daylight, look around good, make sure you don't see a deer, and go to work on those antlers. I mean, go to work calling, and then, expect to call something in. and then stay put, stay in the tree. I mean, I think that's a big mistake so many people make at 9:30, 10. They're getting out. I mean, if there's any way to stay, stay. And if you are going to double dip on trees, in other words, if you're going to hunt those mornings and then you're going to go to an evening spot, stay long in that morning set. If you can stay in there till 1 o'clock before you go hunt that field edge in the evening, I encourage everyone to do that in the rut because, I mean, we're got cell cameras right now in Ohio, and we're just getting lit up through the midday of mature bucks on those cameras. And, and so many people don't do that. So play the wind, but be aggressive. That's the one thing. I mean, I always tell people too is, I mean, you're sitting there and you just keep seeing deer through the timber over at 125 yards. You keep seeing them all morning. Don't be scared November 4th to get out of your tree, pull that set, go over and hang a set, I don't care what noise you make, whatever, and then get back in it. I mean, I've done that many times. I mean, and then the other thing I'd tell anybody is, if it ain't happening for you, if there ain't no activity, don't just sit and wait, move. Get to another stand, hang another set, whatever, because it's happening somewhere. There should be deer activity. So, I'm a very cautious hunter until this time of year, and I get pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I used to be of the opinion. I like that you talk about not being afraid to call and call aggressively. I used to be a hunter that thought, well, I don't want to grunt and I don't want to rattle. What if there's a deer at 60 yards and I scare him off? Well,
Mm,
what if that same deer at 60 yards was never going to come to me anyways? So why
hmm
not try to get him to come to me?
No, I guarantee you. Yes, I mean that's to me what you got to be looking. You're looking at a bunch of frustration, in these bucks right now. I mean, they've been ever since they lost their velvet, they're ready to breed, and so they're just frustrated and frustrated. And so, if they're coming off the destination field at daylight and they hear you rattling, there's a good chance they're coming to you. So, I just like I said, hunt those doe bedding areas early in the mornings, and then get to those field edges in the evenings or stay all day, whatever it might be. But just put time in. The rut is not rocket science. It's just, get a good win, get set in there, and then stay focused because you never know. He can walk by at any time.
Yeah. Before we move on, I got to give a quick thank you to some of our fantastic friends over at Pope and Young. Um,
hmm
Jeff, how do you feel about Pope and Young?
Well, what I know of it, I like everything about it.
Pope and Young for a bow hunter. If you're a bow hunter and you love bow hunting, I can't think of a better place to or a better company, a better club to support. Since the beginning, Pope and Young has fought to preserve and protect our passion for bow hunting. They are the voice for us as bow hunters, constantly going before legislation, fighting on our behalf for bow hunting. So I would highly recommend you to at least check out the Pope and Young Club, if not become a member, because what
hmm
they do is they take our membership fees and they use those to further our opportunities as bow hunters to ensure our opportunities today and tomorrow for bow hunting. So go check out the Pope and Young Club. Jeff, what is your biggest deer to date?
202 and 4/8.
What state was that in?
That was in northwest Oklahoma, right on the Kansas line.
God, that is a
Mm,
absolute monster.
mm.
The place I'm going to be hunting tomorrow evening is in southwest Kansas, and the property line, I'm sorry, southeast Kansas. The
Okay.
property line, the southern property line, is the Oklahoma border. And so I don't know why I didn't think of this, but I'm like, dude, if I just buy my out of state Oklahoma tags, I can park on the same road and then hunt both sides of the road.
hmm
So I'm gonna have to do that
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And Oklahoma's not bad. It's over the counter. I think $250, and you can hunt.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, it has become a hidden gem. Is what I would say, and I don't know how hidden it is anymore. But you see
Yeah.
monsters coming out of Oklahoma every year, man, just absolute giants.
Yeah, Oklahoma's pretty cool because it's so diverse. I mean, you got in northwest Oklahoma, obviously where I'm up here right now, and then you got over there in northeast Oklahoma where you're going to be. But then, southeast Oklahoma down there in the mountains has got giants. So it's a really pretty cool place. I mean, heck, my daughter's at my house right now hunting a 185. 8x8. I mean, anywhere from we got big deer right there at the house.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate the Sooners, but Oklahoma's a cool state, man, because like you said, you've got bears down in the mountains, and then
Hmm.
you go to the Wichita Mountains, you've got elk, you've got, I
Right.
mean, just an absolute cool state to hunt.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. I mean, it's we're up here. It's the Kansas deer, and Oklahoma's what it is. It's the big bodied. I mean, I shot a 320 pounder here a few years back.
Golly.
Just a beast of a deer, and obviously the rack is what we score. But I like a big rack and a big old just stud of a buck. I just love hunting those type deer.
Yeah, man. I one time my buddy showed me a picture and he said, "What do you think this deer scored?" And I guessed it and he laughed and I was like, what are you laughing at?" And he said, "Dude, that deer weighs 350 pounds and
Yeah,
those antler and it scored 30 inches bigger than I guessed, but the
yeah,
body was
yeah.
so enormous that it made the rack look small." So those deer are incredible, man. That just huge bodied, mature deer. Just something special about them, man.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, it's that time to hunt them too. I'm ready. I have not gotten bloody all year. I got my daughter a buck in Kansas. She shot a really nice buck with her bow over at my Kansas farm there, but we've been locked up on this one deer all year. And man, if you want to go look at him, it's you can go to the Buck Ventures YouTube, and we did a little story on him there. But he's a giant.
I think I saw Cole post a picture of him. So
Yeah.
I'm actually familiar with the buck you're talking about. I think he posted it just a couple days ago.
Yeah, deer we call Windmill. Yeah, we got a ton of footage of him, but just ain't got him killed.
Just a giant too, man. A gorgeous deer, and I promise you this, I'm rooting for you, man. I hope you lay that buck on the ground.
Yeah, me too. I'm getting tired. I can tell you that right now. But it's I've had a few special deer that meant a lot to me. Because for whatever reason, if I hunted them a long time or had them 3 or 4 years or whatever. But this deer I just found this year up in the hills, and but I have so much. I probably got 100 videos of him on my DS4Ks from the stealth, and then I have 1,000 pictures of him, and then we have quite a bit of footage of him, and then just all your effort into him. I mean, if I were to get him killed, he'll be one of my kind of famous deer to me.
Well, man, I sure hope it comes to a close this year on that buck for you. You said that there's been a few deer that just meant a lot to you, man. Tell me one of them stories.
Well, so a few of them. I mean, I got Huckleberry in Kansas, and he was a deer that ended up being special to me just because 17 straight days I hunted him and never laid eyes on him. Just my whole relationship with him was trail cameras, and then end up him stepping out on October 3rd in Kansas there on the Arkansas River. And we probably got about 2 minutes of footage of him before I shot him, but just a emotional, just roller coaster chasing him. And then maybe one of my most special deer is a deer I called Lucky up here on the ranch up here, and just had several years of him. And then he was the one that he took a 37-inch jump from 3 to 4 and was 187 when I got him killed. But he was a deer, man. You could call to him and he would get there to 80, 90 yards. And he wasn't a fighter, but you could see him anytime you wanted almost. He just always was out messing with does, but you could never call him in. And so to finally get him on the ground meant a lot, and 187-inch typical is pretty good.
Now that deer Lucky, isn't that the deer that just makes you mad? Because I had a deer almost like that one time, and every night I'd come home and say, "Yeah, we laid eyes on him," and my wife and my friends would be like, "Well, why in the crud are you not killing him? You see him all the
Uh-huh.
time. Just shoot him." And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
he's smarter than I am."
Yeah, I know. Well, and I tell you the truth is, you get those deer like you're talking about, and I would always say, man, every opener we're after Lucky, and it's 2 or 3 years, and when I killed that deer, I think it's November 22nd. That was the dates when I shot him, but I literally cried to myself, not on camera, but I mean, I just had a tear because I thought when I was leaving that ranch that day, I thought it'll never be the same. I'll never go back to that ranch and be like, "Oh, we're going after Lucky." I mean, it was just weird. I mean, that might sound stupid, but it's tough. I mean, it's just like this windmill buck. I mean, it's all we've talked about on this ranch all year. And so if you do get him killed, I mean, it's over. And again, you're happy. You're so happy, but it is something that I don't know. I guess I might be
It's the
silly,
end of
but
a
that
chapter.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that's part of what non-hunters don't understand is we as hunters almost have, I mean, we have a relationship with these animals. I mean, and that
Yeah.
sounds, maybe that's not the right word to use, but we have such an amount of respect for these
Yeah.
animals. It's not just some gruesome harvest of a deer, man. We have respect for these animals. We love watching these animals. We love chasing these animals. I mean, we love getting to know these deer, and that
Hmm.
for a non-hunter, they just can't wrap their mind around that. They don't understand that. But we as hunters, we actually have massive amounts of respect and admiration for these animals. Before we go, Jeff, send us off, man, with a field note. Just something you've learned over the years, something I can jot down and put in my arsenal. That way I can always pull it out and remember what Jeff Danker told me.
Well, I tell you one thing I always say, and it's just real simple, but I always say, bad wind, bad hunt. And I just, man, if somebody will just remember that, I mean, and you know one thing to remember, if you got 6 sets and you're going to have a favorite or two, and you're going to be like, man, I want to hunt that set. When I can hunt it, I'll kill that buck. But if you'll let that wind put you wherever the best spot for the wind will kill more booners than your favorite stand ever will. And
Yeah,
I'm living proof of it. I mean, because you're always like, man, I got to be able to set that. But if you'll be disciplined enough to remember bad wind, you're going to have a bad hunt. And because
yeah,
so many times hunters, what do? We try to push that issue and be like, well, I got to get in here to kill him. And bad wind, bad hunt is just some simple words.
absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm rooting for you to put down Windmill, and I cannot wait to see pictures of him, and I believe that you'll get it done. So before we go, I do want to give one more thank you to our friends over at Bonning. Whatever you need, archery wise or arrow wise, whether you're building arrows and need components, or whether you just got to get some arrows fletched, whether you want to customize some arrows and make them look cool, Bonning has everything you need, from the tools to put on your arrows and the tools to fletch your arrows. And they have some incredible Fredbear branded products. So go check out Bonning Archery. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on, man. I hope and I wish the best for you this season.
Well, God bless you. And, if you ever need anything from me, I'm here, brother.
I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for listening. And as always, if you have any questions, concerns, gripes, moans, complaints, or if you have a field note that you would like to share with me, you can reach me at the hunting101podcast@gmail.com. But happy hunting. Good luck this rut. It is kicking off right now. So get out in the woods. And like Jeff said, stay as long as you can and get out there as much as you can. Thanks for listening. You guys have a great week.